Heritage destruction is not just losing objects, it's losing memory.
Artifact is a lost story, lost culture, and lost to our history.
Archaeological heritage is not a commodity. It's an evidence of a lifelong gone.
Let's all value and protect Philippine archaeology. Hello everyone, welcome to our video podcast for Introduction to World Archaeology. We are public history students and today we're talking about yesterday's issue in Philippine archaeology: looting, treasure hunting, and heritage destruction. I am Sarah L. Ardiante, and this is Given Grace Imbosoy, Anthony G. Guevara, and Cleric O. Eras.
And this topic really matters because many archaeological sites in the Philippines are being damaged, sometimes permanently. Every time looters dig for treasure, we lose a piece of our history.
Yes, it's not just about losing artifacts, it's about losing information, the context that tell us how these objects are made, or what they believe, or how they live.
So in this episode, we'll break down what looting, treasure hunting, and heritage destruction is, why it happens, how it affects archaeology, and what it means to Philippine history.
Alright, let's begin with archaeological background. To start, we need to understand in archaeology, context is everything. It's not enough to find an artifact. We need to know where exactly it was found, its soil layer, what else around it, how deep it was, and its relation to other finds. That context tells us about how people live, what they believe in, and how society works.
Exactly. When looters dig up artifacts without care, just digging to grab something they think is valuable, they lose that context. According to Ricardo J. Elia in his study, The Description of Archaeological Site, artifacts removed this way lose their scientific value. The objects become separated from the story that gives its meaning.
Yes, archaeological sites are fragile and irreplaceable. Once they are destroyed or looted, we can never recover the original information that was there.
It's sad because the Philippines has many potential archaeological sites. For example, caves, burial sites, colonial era settlements. But these are threatened by natural erosion, modern developments, or by human activities, right?
Yeah.
Especially looting.
When we lose context, we lose history. That's why looting is so important.
Now, the question is, why is looting so widespread here? One big reason is that demand. According to the research by Dennis Bryan, Counter-Heritage Critical Perspective on Heritage Conservation in Asia, including the Philippines, it became part of a global antiquities market. As old pottery and artifacts gained value abroad or among collectors, illicit excavation increased.
Also, there are local beliefs and myths, like stories about hidden treasures. Sometimes, treasure hunters dig for lost gold or hidden or burial riches. This myth is what motivates them to dig around without even thinking about our local history or heritage. And there is also a book, one of the archaeologist, Victor J. Paz. He also emphasizes that Many looted sites here in the Philippines were originally burial caves or burial grounds. Now, these caves contain human remains, earthenware, and burial artifacts. When these sites were illegally excavated, all the archaeological assemblages will be destroyed, and this is what makes it impossible to reconstruct.
So when they just dig like that, they don't follow any archaeological methods. They just want variables. That destroys the entire site. So even if they take one object, the surrounding context is gone. It's ruined. And any information of the archaeological sites is lost.
Beyond local figures, there's also the issue of antiquities market. Some collectors and dealers buy or sell artifacts. This commodification of heritage turns a cultural object into tradable goods. That worsens the problem.
And even though many countries recognize that looting is very harmful, illicit trade still thrives because many looted items are smuggled or sold with no provenance, and it's very hard to trace and stop once that object is out.
So, looting is not just about digging holes. It's part of a larger system of demand, trade, and neglect of heritage protection.
Absolutely, that's right. Actually, in the book called Archaeology, Theories, Methods, and Practice by Colin Renfrew and Paul Bahn, it was stated there in chapter 15, The Future of the Past, multiple human agencies, and one of which is looting. Looting of archaeological sites who seeks for monetary gain. And then why not let's talk about the four other remaining agencies. The first, construction of infrastructure, agricultural intensification, and conflict of war. And lastly, the tourism.
For construction of infrastructure, the threat to our heritage comes from construction and development. Every time new buildings, roads, and infrastructure projects are built, they can destroy archaeological sites. Sometimes, once we didn't know they existed. Without careful planning, valuable historical information, and artifacts can be lost forever.
For agricultural intensification, modern farming practices, including the mechanized agriculture, are increasingly damaging archaeological sites. Even the areas that were once protected, like ancient settlements or monuments, can be destroyed. And smaller or less visible sites are especially vulnerable. That's why it makes the agriculture a serious and often overlooked as a threat to our cultural heritage.
Conflict and war can destroy our heritage, not just abroad but also here in the Philippines. With the recent war and conflict here in our country, some old churches, ancestral houses, and historical structures were damaged and destroyed, leading to its owner's abandonment. What's next? Looting. Looting can happen when the sites are unprotected or abandoned by its owner. With this, it leads to a permanent loss of our artifacts and history.
So lastly, tourism is often overlooked because tourism can have a good impact in terms of economic gain of heritage sites, which led to some of heritage blinded by wealth without noticing the damage caused by the tourism. We could simply assume that the cause and effect theory would be a great example to examine what brought tourism into destruction, as well as the other mentioned human agencies. This would relate to overall challenges faced by the heritage sites in the Philippines, or even in a global aspect.
Before we move on, we need to talk about the bigger picture, heritage destruction. Looting is just one form of it. Heritage destruction refers to any action, whether intentional or unintentional, that changes, that damages, or erases cultural sites, artifacts, landscape, and tradition.
Yeah, you're right. And according to Renfrew and Bahn, heritage destruction can come from many directions. Natural processes, modern developments, war, tourism, pressure, and human neglect. But in the Philippine context, a lot of destruction is caused by the human activity, especially when heritage is not fully understood or protected.
For example, many archaeological sites here in the Philippines were unprotected. Because of this, construction projects can accidentally dig through ancient settlements, burial grounds, pottery sites. Once that these sites were destroyed, the information is gone forever. There is no way to recreate the original context of these archaeological sites.
Heritage destruction also includes the removal of artifacts from its original places, the bulldozing of heritage landscapes, vandalism, and even unregulated tourism. As UNESCO has emphasized for decades, cultural heritage is fragile, and once damaged, it cannot be replaced.
The Philippines has faced these issues many times. Coastal archaeological sites erode because of quarrying, caves collapse because of illegal digging, colonial ruins disappear because of development, and indigenous heritage sites are threatened because of mining and land conversion.
And the sad thing is, most of the heritage destruction happens quietly, not dramatic, and not noticeable, and often not documented. But the long-term effect is very huge. When a heritage site is destroyed, generations lose their chance to understand that part of their history.
This is why we need stronger policies, better public awareness, and more involvement with the local communities. If these people understand the value of these heritage sites, they can help us in preserving and protecting these sites.
Heritage destruction is not just losing objects, it's losing memory, identity, and traces and physical traces that connects us to our ancestors. Once it's gone forever.
Another major cause of looting is the influence of legends, and especially the famous Yamashita Treasure. And many Filipinos during that time, they believed that the Japanese soldiers hid tons of golds in tunnels and caves during the World War II. Anthropologist and archaeologist Laura Lee Junker notes that treasure hunting in the Philippines is often driven by oral traditions and wartime legends, including the Yamashita gold myth. Junker explains that these legends encourages large-scale, destructive digging that damages archaeological landscapes without producing credible evidence.
And because these people think that these treasures were real, they dig everywhere, mountains, caves, old sites, without even knowing that these sites might hold valuable historical information that historians might use.
So myths, especially large-scale treasure legends, plays a huge role in increasing uncontrolled digging.
Imagine if we actually found it, our group would be rich and famous overnight.
Rich enough to fund all our futures, and we can buy a snacks for our podcast.
That's right, that's right.
Why not join me find the Yamashita treasure?
Let's go, let's go!
Go! Go! Go!
Now, let's consider what happened to the Philippines when looting continues. For starters, we lose knowledge. We don't know how early Filipinos lived, their trade networks, their beliefs, their burial practices, or their migrations. Without proper context, we can't reconstruct their societies reliably.
Exactly. Artifacts out of context can tell us where they came from, whether they were locally made or traded. For example, the ceramics or beads might show contacts with the other regions, but if they are wrongly removed, that link is lost.
That causes distortion in our historical understanding. We might misunderstand or misrepresent ancient cultures.
Yes, I agree. Everything lies beneath the perspective of human beings. It's about the action on how we perceive things. As we future As we future public historians, we have a role beyond the study. We need to think about communities, laws, and heritage awareness.
First, public misconception. Some people think an old artifact is like treasure, something to sell or display, without realizing it's evidence of past lives and societies.
Second, the policy and enforcement international bodies like UNESCO warns that illicit trafficking of cultural property is a global problem. It robs the communities and nations of their heritage.
Third, heritage protection must involve communities. If the locals know the value of these sites, they can help us to preserve and protect the sites.
Fourth, development and urbanization must balance heritage conservation before construction or development projects. Archaeological impact assessment should be required to avoid destroying unknown sites.
Heritage belongs to everyone: scholars, local communities, future generations. Protecting it is a shared responsibility. So, we've talked a lot about problem. Now, let's talk about solution. Like, what can we actually do about looting, treasure hunting, and heritage destruction?
Yeah, because the issue feels heavy, but it doesn't mean we're helpless. Actually, there are a lot of solutions. We just need people to take care of that.
True. And I think the first one is education. Many people don't know what archaeology really is. They only see old things, treasure, or stuff that has value. But these people don't know that these things can be used as an evidence of our past. And maybe if people understand that these things are very important for the archaeologists and the historians, maybe they will think twice before they going to steal it or dig some area.
Exactly. That's why public archaeology really matters. The museums, the schools, and even barangay programs. This could really help. Even UNESCO emphasizes that education is one of the strongest tools against illegal digging or excavation.
Right. Once people understand, they can also protect sites, not destroy them.
And also, another big solution is the involvement of communities. I mean, the people living near the sites are actually the best example of the guardians of that sites.
Yeah, and I think they are the first one to notice if someone is digging illegally. Like for example, some people in the northern Luzon are protecting their burial sites because you say burial sites is very sacred for the IPs, and it is a way to remember their ancestors, so they will protect it.
Yes, and when people really feel proud about their heritage, they report looting, guide archaeologists, and then also the visitors. Then it becomes community teamwork.
It's like heritage become personal to them, not just something from school.
We also need a stronger laws and enforcement. Actually, we already have the National Cultural Heritage Act, but sometimes it just sits there.
Right. We need more heritage officer, more archaeologists, and most importantly, more fundings. If no one is watching these sites are easy target for those people who likes to loot and take old stuffs.
Plus, buyers of illegal artifacts should face serious consequences,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If no one buys, no one digs. Simple tactics, but that's reality.
Yeah. You're right.
Exactly. Enforcement isn't just about arresting looters. It's stopping the whole illegal market.
Another solution that's really important is the checking of areas for the heritage before building anything.
Yes, many countries do archaeological assessment before making some things or making construction. Like for example, if they are going to build roads, malls, or any building, the expert will first check if there is something important underground or in that specific area.
But in the Philippines, some projects don't do that. But not all. And that's the problem. Once a site is destroyed by construction, there's nothing. You can't just go there and rebuild the past.
So developers and archaeologists really need to work together.
One, two, three. You know, guys, tourism is another big one. It can actually help or harm.
If unmanaged, it might cause damage to the artifacts and for the tourists. For example, they can easily break stuff, and if the structures in that site will erode, it might cause accident for the tourists.
Yes.
But if tourism is controlled, visitor limits, proper pathways, trained guides, then it becomes benefit, not a threat.
Yes, sustainable tourism. Protecting the site while enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Good. Good.
You know, technology nowadays is a big help. 3D mapping, drones, and digital recordings can save time and protect the sites.
It's also useful for documenting those places that might get damaged by nature or by development. And at least, if they might damage, we have a full record about the place, right?
Right. And honestly, digital models and virtual tours are great for education too. People can explore sites without damaging them.
So, technology is really a big help for preservation.
But maybe the biggest long-term solution is to support the archaeology itself, because we actually have a very few archaeologists here in the Philippines.
Yeah, there is only a few people who study and protect sites. If many students would study archaeology or heritage sites, we might produce an expert who can help us to preserve and protect these sites.
Yeah.
And that's also where public history students like us, come on
Yeah.
now, we're here to help connect the
Yes.
public
You're right.
to heritage.
I
We
agree.
explain, we advocate, we educate.
Exactly. Heritage protection is not the job of the archaeologist. It's the job for everyone.
So even if the problem is serious, there are actually many things we can do.
Education, community works, laws, and technology. These things can help us stop looting and heritage loss.
It really takes cooperation, especially the governments, scholars, locals, and even students like us.
And if everyone works together, we can protect our heritage for the future. So to wrap up, looting, treasure hunting, and heritage destructions are not just crimes. They are assaults on history, identity, and memory.
Every lost artifact is a lost story, lost culture, and lost to our history.
Archaeological heritage is not a commodity. It's an evidence of a lifelong gone, and it deserves respect.
By raising awareness, educating people, supporting heritage policies, and involving communities, we can help protect our past for the future.
Thank you for listening to our discussion. We hope this make you think about heritage not as a treasure but as legacy. Let's all value and protect Philippine archaeology. Again, we are public history students.
Bye.